What's up YouTube, Day Heavens Death War Games. We're here with Michael, and Michael is bringing us his fully competitive Ninja deck profile that actually won our locals yesterday. Did really well, and it can catch people off guard, and trust me, when this deck goes off, it does go off very savagely. He will also show you a combo towards the end, or I'll be putting that combo on as a separate video for itself. But without further ado, Michael, take the ninjas away.
Alright guys, so first we're going to get into the monster lineup. So as you could probably tell, starting off with 3 copies of Ninja Mank Grandmaster Hanzo. Basically the heart and soul of the deck, gets your plays going, and it's just great to start off with this card, so naturally we're playing 3 copies of it. Next up we're playing 3 copies of the new Yellow Ninja. I really like this card because it's got some solid stats for a Ninja monster, and it also does help extend your plays, helps you go into your links or maybe your exceeds, and it does have that restriction, whereas if you do use his effect to summon from your hand, you can only go into ninjas from your ninja monsters from your extra deck for the rest of the turn, but still really crucial to the deck, really helpful. I'm only playing 2 copies of the Upstart Golden Ninja because I found that discarding a trap from your hand is very risky. If this gets hit by an Ash Blossom or an Effect Veiler, it's obviously quite painful, and it really does set you back. So I felt like 2 was just enough. And of course, there are many ways to search it out. Next up, I'm playing 1 copy of Getsuka. I see a lot of decks playing multiple copies, but I like 1 copy. Like I said, it is searchable, as are pretty much all the ninjas in the deck. And I'm trying to keep the monster count fairly low for this deck, since you don't really want to open those all monster hands, so 1's been working pretty well for me. And then I'm playing 3 copies of Twilight Ninja Jogan. This is one of the monsters you need for the combo, which I'll explain at the end. And aside from that, it's just a really good card. You just very easy to summon it. You just reveal one of your ninjutsu art spell and traps in your hand to the opponent. You get to summon it straight to the field, and 2k is a pretty nice body to start dealing damage with. I'm also playing 3 copies of Kagan, Twilight Ninja Kagan. This is another of the monsters I need for the combos. The combos basically revolved around the Twilight Ninjas, and its effects do come up, and I'll explain later on why they're quite relevant to this deck. I never really pendulum summon that much. That's sort of a last resort, but the effects do play a vital role in this deck, which you will see. So that's it for the ninja lineup. Some additional monsters I'm playing are 2 copies of Diabolos. I'll explain why I'm playing these towards the end, but as you'll start to see with my other choices in the deck, it's very easy to get access to this card. It's a really strong beater, and unlike some of the other choices that are open to the ninja players, things like White Dragon Ninja or the new Yellow Dragon Ninja, drawing into this card isn't so bad because there is still a way to summon it, as opposed to drawing into something like White Dragon Ninja and not being able to play it. So I just find that this card is good in the deck, and it's also good in your hand as well, and also in the graveyard if it comes to that, so I felt like that was really good. And then to round up the monster lineup is 3 copies of Ash Blossom. It's by no means essential to the deck. You can easily change it out for a different kind of hand trap, but I personally really like this card, and I feel like it's quite useful in the deck. So that's it for the monster lineup. Moving on to spells. Of course, the 1 Rota. 2 copies of the new field spell, Hidden Village. I feel like 2's quite good. There are times when I miss having the 3rd one, but a lot of the times it's just 2's just great. They're easy way to get access to it through Notebook or through the new Link monster, which I'll show later. And yeah, just great for you recycling your ninjas to spell the traps. And the fact that it protects your ninjas from battle and card effects, very useful. That comes up a great deal, I must say. And then 2 copies of Notebook. I really like Notebook because, although it is vulnerable to Ghost Ogre, it is a very useful card, especially getting certain ninjas into the grave like Getsuka. And yeah, just an all-round really great card. And then to pair with that, 1 copy of Alchemy. I felt like 1 was just right because I only really need to resolve it in the first couple of turns, and then later on I usually have quite a few ninjutsu art spells and traps on the field, and for those of you who don't know, this destroys all of your active ninjutsu art spells and traps in order for you to draw 2 cards. So you've got to be really careful how you play. You don't want to sacrifice too many resources just to draw a couple of cards. So it is a powerful card, but use it wisely. And then I'm playing 1 Monster Reborn, of course. And then round up the spells, I'm playing 2 copies of World Legacy Succession. This is also to do with the combo, which I will explain in a bit. But I find this card to be really useful. A lot of the times you are going for your the ninja-themed Link monster, and this just allows you to amass so much advantage, just a free reborn. And I just really like it. The only downside is there's no current way to search it in this particular deck, but I find like just really useful. I didn't find that 3 was necessary because a lot of times I'd open multiples, and it is of course limited to once per turn. And the other issue is that you may not always have access to the Link play, so I felt like 2 was just right. So that's it for spells. Moving on to the trap lineup, I'm playing 2 copies of Ninjutsu Art of Duplication. This is one of the cards you need for the combos, and as you notice, it also tributes a ninja monster. So if I'm tributing something like any of the Twilight Ninjas or Hanzo or even Getsuka, that triggers Diabolos, so it's immediately easy to summon it to the field. So that's what I meant in terms of it not being dead in your hand. So I'll get to how this can help you out in a bit. 2 copies of Shadow Sealing. With Master Rule 4 in effect, this card has become exceptionally useful. Being able to lock out your opponent of the extra deck zone while you control a Link monster, or control anything in the extra deck zone, basically means they cannot access the extra deck. So very, very useful, very powerful. There is also the ruling that if you banish an extra deck monster from your opponent's extra deck zone, and then your opponent manages to get rid of your Ninjutsu Art of Shadow Sealing, the monster will then, it won't return to the field, it will go straight to the graveyard. So it's a great ruling right there, great to get around quite a few things, and just all around really useful card. And it's also just great for outing certain problem monsters your opponent might put on the board. The last of the ninjutsu cards I'm playing is 1 copy of Super Transformation. I'm not a huge fan of this card because this doesn't actually tribute, this sends. So if I already have access to that Diabolos, this isn't going to help me too much. And as you probably guessed, this summons the Diabolos straight from the deck. The problem is, with a lot of people playing late monsters now, it's harder to resolve this because of course this requires levels to work. And the other thing is that should this leave the field, it banishes the monster. So it's very, very risky summoning Diabolos off this. But it's just another form of interruption which is searchable, so I figured it'd be good to include it. That's it for the ninjutsus. Moving up to the rest of the traps, 3 copies of Solemn Strike. I feel like Strike's really useful for this deck because you are playing quite a few back row, and it's just great for interrupting your opponent's plays and knocking them down. So I felt like 3 Strike were really necessary. And the last of the traps were 3 copies of Storming Mirror Force. I experimented with different cards in these last 3 slots, but ultimately I decided Storming was the best card, simply because of you could out things like an extra Link combo or pretty much anything your opponent puts on the board. The thing is, although your field spell does give you a great deal of defense, you need some extra form of removal, which I think which really helps. I didn't really want to play Torrential Tribute in this deck since you don't really benefit off it too much, and it is sort of counterproductive. So I felt like Storming was great for protecting your setup while also make your opponent waste their resources. This is especially good if your opponents amass the board of extra deck monsters, so very, very useful there. So that's it for the main deck. It's 40 cards. Moving on to the extra deck, I'm playing 2 copies of Ninja Grandmaster Saizo. I feel like 2 is just right. I never really need the 3rd copy, but ultimately I really love this card. Being able to sort of has that built-in Altergeist Marionetta effect where you can just set cards straight from the deck. So very, very useful, and it's really good that he can dodge attacks as the ninjas would, and cannot be targeted while he points to a monster. So very, very useful. Next up, playing 1 Link Karibo. Since I am playing Twilight Ninja Kagan, he's a level 1, so good access to that. The other great thing about Link Karibo is by tributing itself to reduce an opponent's monster attack to 0, you can also trigger Diabolos, so that's another way around it, so very useful card. Next up for the Nightmares, I'm playing 1 Cerberus, 1 Phoenix, and 1 Unicorn. Pretty standard right now, you're pretty much seeing these in every deck. I didn't feel like Goblin was necessary because there are loads of ways to swarm the board, and I think that might have been just going a bit too much. So I felt like these 3 were just right. And then for the big boss monsters for the Links, 1 Skuldred, 1 Borreload, and 1 Borrelsword. Then by no means essential to the deck, but they do help a great deal, being able to get their effects off, and of course being able to out the opponent's Borreload Dragon perhaps, or just drawing into your combo piece is very, very useful. And of course, Boral Sword leads to a lot of OTKs, which is always good. And as you'll see by the next card, OTKs are a very big possibility for this deck, because the next card is Blade Armor Ninja. Due to Yellow Ninja's restriction that I can only access ninja monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, this is a great card to go into, especially if he's buffed up by Kagan. Can then go in for a lot of damage. For those of you who don't know, while Kagan's in the Pendulum Zone, he allows one of my ninjas to gain 1,000 when it declares an attack. So very useful, especially for a monster that can attack twice. Next up, one copy of Baguska. Just I feel like if you have access to the rank 4 engine, this is a staple pretty much. Very useful for slowing down your opponent and interrupting that place. Very good. One copy of Castell. A lot of the times I just need to out a certain card in the field, and because Getsuka allows me to go into a lot of rank 4s, I feel like Castell is quite useful for that sort of strategy, being able to just bounce random cards and control the opponent's board. Very, very useful. One copy of Tornado Dragon, since very, very useful, since I don't really have a great deal of back row removal in the deck, aside from maybe Nightmare Unicorn, Nightmare Phoenix. So this really helps in that respect, being able to out-problem cards. Very useful. And then the last cards in the extra deck are one Utopia Lightning. Pretty much finisher cards, just being able to just deal in a huge amount of damage. And now I'm with that combo. So there are many. One thing I really love about this is there are many ways to get access to this combo. But this is sort of how it would go. So the idea is that you would need a couple of ninjas in your hand to make this play, or you would need Upstart Golden Ninja and a trap card. But let's just assume you've opened Yellow Ninja and Ninja Grandmaster Hanzo. And let's also say that you've opened with the World Legacy Succession. So with this combo, what you would do is you would normal summon the Yellow Ninja, special summon the Hanzo. The Hanzo would then activate and search any ninja from your deck except itself. At this point you would add Getsuka to your hand. You would then link both monsters to Saizo. You would then use the effect of Saizo to set Notebook, and then activate the Notebook. You would discard Getsuka to the graveyard, and from here you can do a couple of things. You could set the field spell if you wanted, or you could go for Alchemy. A lot of the time, you'll go for one of your trap cards. Me personally, I like to go for Alchemy right off the bat, because it allows you to draw into some of your important cards, especially if you're going first with this sort of play. Ninjas really like to go first, set up their back row, set up their ninjutsu arts, and this is just a great first turn play. So let's assume in this case you've gone for Alchemy. Alchemy will then destroy Notebook, draw you 2 cards. Since Getsuka's in the grave, you can now play World Legacy Succession, summon it back to a zone that Saizo points to. You then put it in defense mode. You'd bring back your Yellow Ninja and your Hanzo. You'd get another search of Hanzo, since it's not once per turn, and you'd just be able to get a few combos off. If you've got a few more ninjutsu, art, spells and traps, you've then got more targets on the board. That's just very, very useful. Unfortunately, you're not able to go into any non-ninja monsters from your extra deck, since you have used Yellow's effect. But that's a good thing if you've used Upstart Golden Ninja, because then you can bypass that and maybe set up something else, perhaps a Tornado Dragon or a Baguska, whatever really works out for you. In terms of the Twilight Ninjas, this was the combo that I had in mind. Again, there are many ways to do this. I'm just going to assume we're going through the same combo, which is Yellow Ninja and Hanzo. Except this time, instead of grabbing Getsuka, I'm going to search for Jogan. So Jogan's in your hand. Then I'm going to go for Saizo. Now, instead of going for Notebook, instead of that, I'm going to set, if I can find it, Duplication. And you would then special summon Jogan by revealing another ninjutsu art spell or trap in your hand. You'd then pass to the opponent, and at some point during the opponent's turn, or if you want, you can do it right off the bat, you would activate the Duplication, tribute off the Jogan. Since Jogan's level 7, you can summon monsters up to level 7. So here I would summon the 3 copies of Kagan. and 1 Hanzo straight from the deck. So that's a total of 7 levels. These would go face down, but then Hanzo would get you a search. And look how much advantage you've gained just off that. Very, very powerful, very useful. And if you've got a Diablos in your hand, that will immediately trigger it and summon the Diablos since you've just tributed Jogan. So very good, very imposing first turn board. Remember, they can't target your Sizo for attacks or for card effects. So it just allows you to swarm very quickly. I know there are a couple of variants of ninjas going around right now, which is the Hornet Drones version, which allows you to extra link, and another version, the anti-spell Simorglock. I'm not a big fan of the extra link combo. I just don't like extra link combos at all in general, so I avoided that one. I did try out the anti-spell variant for quite a while because I know that one was quite popular and I was quite tempted to try it out, but I found that anti-spell wasn't as useful as it once was. Everyone having access to Tornado Dragon, for example, or Nightmare Phoenix, mostly Nightmare Phoenix, they just out it so easily, so I wasn't too keen on that one. But by all means, if you prefer that variant, you can certainly go for that. The lineup wouldn't change too much. You'd probably cut back on some of the Twilight Ninjas, but for the most part it would be the same. But this build's been working really well for me. I love the swarm factor. I love the surprise factor as well. Not many people see this deck coming, even with the new support that's just come out. And yeah, that's the profile.
Excellent. So we've got a profile and a combo all in that. So you should be able to have a good understanding of the ninjas now, especially with their new card Link Monster. Not to mention the reprints of all the ninjas that you might actually need to play around with. So for now, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and until next time, guys, as always, go on, Donald, do the courtesy.
Happy dueling!
What's up, YouTube? Thanks for watching that video. I hope you liked it. If you did, hit that like button. And of course, don't forget to hit that big red subscribe button in the bottom left-hand corner and the notification bell so you don't miss out on anything. We've got more deck profiles, duels, pack openings, and many more Yu-Gi-Oh! Videos coming up for you all year round. So don't forget to stay tuned for all of that. Thanks, and as always, guys, happy dueling.